Have a good week. This year is dedicated to Rachelea Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. You have questions. Okay. 1. I'm starting to teach a girl of 11 years old for bat mitzvah. And the real issue is that the father himself became totally firm after his divorce from her mother. And he got married. What's a way to get her involved in mitzvah through knowledge? What kind of relation should I have? Be more teacher? Can you suggest a specific book? This is a difficult issue, as I'm sure you realize from your question. So, I'm assuming from the question that she lives with her mother who isn't from. So, realize that a child of 11 could develop the foundation of Yiddishkeit in her heart and become a firm person internally. But in her life situation, she can't practice many mitzvot externally. So your role is to give her that yesod, that picture of basic emunah and a desire to see herself as having a purposeful life in which Hashem is a major player. So how would you do this? So the first is that what emunah really means is, again, seeing everything is coming from Hashem, everything therefore being an act of His compassion, and finally, everything there for the sake of our tikkun. There also has to be a sense of accountability in your teachings to her, and the realization that the guide to knowing where reality's borders are the mitzvot. So I don't know the girl, I don't know what level she's on. There's a book that I could recommend that's for younger children than this, in Hebrew, so it has two chesronos for you. But you could work with the ideas there and build them up. So this book is a book on the Parshiyot called Sharsheret on the Parsh. It's from the Sharsheret Publishing House on the Parshiyot, and they're written with a great deal of charm and emunah. So you could use that as a base and then bring it up to her age level. Okay, by connecting it to whatever she's learning for her bat mitzvah, whichever mitzvah you've selected to have her learn, or the Haftorah, or whatever. But your goal is not to get her to keep kosher in the palace, like Esther. This may not happen. Your goal is to make her want to eventually keep kosher. Your goal is not to get her to drop out of whatever school she's in and to go to Beis Yaakov. Your goal is to make her want to learn more Torah so that she'll be willing and anxious to read good books, inspiring books that fit her age when her father or you can get them to her. So that's your goal. And I've heard you said in response to the many questions that you get about how to be able to see the end of the story, the full picture, and not keeping in mind that everything you were saying is emes. My heart feels otherwise. I'm in the midst of living at home with a non-religious family, and no light of change. I don't know what you mean by light of change. Let's leave it at change anywhere in sight. How's one mechazek oneself in the meantime? I try to use my time as well, learning, keeping a gratitude journal, but I often find myself bored, unfulfilled, lonely, and resentful. I feel like I'm not able to use my talent, skills, abilities, that my potential is going no place. My head and heart are in two different places. I try to push out the struggling. Please help. Okay, so right now you're living at home with non-religious family. And let's say you're going to be there for a long time. There is no end in sight. So what I would ask you to question in yourself is, what can you yes do? Not what can you not do, but what could you yes do? So I'm going to give you several examples of people who are in situations that were certainly more severe than your situation. Think of Daniel in Nebuchadnezzar's palace, with no end in sight. And in fact, he really, until the end of his life, lived in Nebuchadnezzar's palace. Okay, see yourself as Natan Sharansky in a Soviet prison in solitude for 9 years. See yourself as Esther, as Achashverosh's wife. See yourself as Rebbe Meir of Rottenburg, who purposely told his community not to ransom him from prison and not to even ransom his body after his death, because he didn't want every rabbi to be prey to the kidnappers, the slanderers, and all of those would cause them to be arrested for ransom. What do they do with their days? So the rule is, if you can't do it on the outside, you do it on the inside. What did they do with their days? Think about it. Daniel became a master of tefillah, a navi. Esther became our model of tznius, of chesed, of awareness, of conquest of Yetzer Hara. When you read Natan Sharansky's book, Fear No Evil, which I recommend that you do read, he spent his days in a very disciplined way, trying to improve himself in every way possible.